Welcome students to the video in the leaf series, which is exclusively dealing with compound leaves. And here we will be looking at what are compound leaves and what are the basic divisions under this kind of leaves. So beginning, what exactly is a compound leaf? Here compound itself means that we are dealing with leaf-like developments which are further seen on a leaf, something like that. So it's a lamina which completely develops into distinct parts or leaflets, not the point leaflets, which means that parts in a leaf which look like leaf. So that's a point. Now leaflets which are mimicking or similar to a leaf, that means it is carrying out photosynthesis. And interestingly, these leaflets, which are parts of the leaf which look like small leaves or which look like sub leaves, they have base, stalk and blade. But the interesting part is that leaflets naturally won't be having any axillary buds or stipules. And the technical term, the botanical term for leaflets is pinnae or pinnules. And here in the diagram is something like a characteristic example of how a pinnule will be looking like. So note the point, compound leaf means that in a particular leaf itself, that is arising from a stem, you have a petiole, then the leaf. In that leaf itself, there are small leaf-like developments which are leaflets, and naturally leaflets, because they are part of the leaf itself, they will not be having any axillary buds or stipules. So that's a important point which should be noted. Now, going on to the key important subdivision under compound leaves, it's divided into two: pinnate and palmate. And the beginning will be having a detailed look at what pinnate compound leaves mean. Pinnate basically means that we have the leaflets developing laterally on an elongated axis. So this axis is a key point because we are not dealing with the petiole or it's not something like a subdivision of a petiole. So not that point, and we'll be looking at that important aspect in a more detailed manner shortly. So as far as pinnate compound leaves are concerned, it has its own subdivisions, and we are beginning with unipinnate, which simply means that there is a common axis, and this axis, as I already told, is called Arrakis. So it's a case where the division into leaflets is happening only once, and there's a common axis which is called Arrakis. Interestingly, unipinnate has two divisions, that is Paripinnate and Imparipinnate. A very nice way to remember this two particular cases is to understand what pari and impari denotes. Pari means even means something like repeating twice or something like that. Impari means it's not even. So what exactly does this mean as far as compound leaves are concerned? Basically, paripinnate means that if you count the leaflets, if you count the leaflets on Arrakis, you can see that the number is even. So that's a key point. And two notable examples are cassia and tamarind, which obviously means that impari means that that even character is missing, which means that if you look at a compound leaf of which has imparipinnate characteristic, it basically means that there will be a single leaf at the top, which obviously means that the total number of leaves is odd, it's not even. And a notable important case is neem Azadirachta indica. So now we are going to the second subdivision under pinnate type of compound leaves, and that is called, of course, we dealt with the pinnate. Naturally, the second subdivision would be two, that is bipinnate. Obviously, it means that the first case we had a something like a common basic Arrakis. Here there will be a secondary axis, and that is called Rachilla, not that point. So bipinnate, the characteristic important development or a characteristic notable feature is the development of a secondary axis, which is the technical term being Rachilla. And let's look at a case. And here we can see that this is dealing with acacia or kika. And we can easily see that there are multiple leaflets, and there is a secondary axis or there is a secondary development on which the leaflets are developing. So not that point. So that leaflet, a single leaflet arrangement is called pinnule, and the secondary arrangement and the secondary development, that's the secondary axis on which the leaflets are developing, that is called Rachilla. So Rachilla and the pinnule are two important points to note as far as bipinnate compound leaves, bipinnate compound leaves are concerned, which is a subdivision under the pinnate category. And as I already mentioned, some interesting examples are acacia, kika, then mimose or pudica, which we know that it's a very sensitive plant, and albizia. So these are the notable examples under bipinnate compound leaves, which come under the pinnate category. So that's about bipinnate, and naturally we'll be going on to the next division. So it was unipinnate, bipinnate, and obviously no doubt what the next subdivision it would be, that is tripinnate. And tripinnate, by now we have got an idea about how the whole thing is subdivided, which means that here the axis or the axis, that is the kind of branch on which the leaflets are developing, that thing will be a tertiary axis. So you'll be having a pinnule on the tertiary axis, as well as as far as the tripinnate compound leaf is considered. Once again, you have the pinnules, you have the Rachilla, but note the point that the axis is tertiary. And the diagram here represents a very notable, very well-known case, that's the Moringa. So that's about tripinnate. So the key point is here the leaflets are developing on a tertiary axis. So not that point, and everything else is quite similar to what we discussed about in the previous two cases. So as already mentioned in many of the previous videos, learning this kind of morphological features of leaves is would be very easy, and you'll be able to remember them for a long time if it's done by means of remembering the related diagrams. So that's the key point. Remember the example, remember the diagram which is related to the example, and that's the way we can easily remember such morphological features of plants in a very easy manner. So as the diagram here depicts, it's quite like a bushy development. You have a lot of leaflets, and because here we are dealing with a tertiary axis. Note the point, and note that the development from the petiole. The development from the petiole, that's the part which connects the whole leaf to the stem. That is also ending in some leaflet groups. So that's also very interesting. So that's about the tripinnate case. And so you have the petiole at the bottom, you have the Arrakis, and note the point that the tertiary axis is denoted as rachilla. So that's very important. And of course, as I already mentioned, a notable case is moringa. Going on, it was unipinnate, bipinnate, tripinnate. Naturally, the next division is something which is dealing with more divisions, and it's called decompound. So basically, it means that there's more than thrice pinnate, which means that more than 3 divisions. So you're not dealing with just a tertiary axis or tertiary axis on which leaflets are developing. It's going into more than that. So more than 3 pinnate or more than thrice pinnate. That basically means that the axis on which the development is happening goes into multiple divisions. So that's a key point, and a very interesting, notable development, especially from the examination point of view, is that in this case, the lamina, that's the leaf blade, is not well developed. What I mean is that it is suppressed, and as you can see in the diagram, it looks something like a kind of underdeveloped lamina, and some quite notable examples are coriander and carrot. So that's about this pinnate compound leaves. We are now going into the second major division, that is the palmate. So here, what's the key difference from the cases, from the examples which we just discussed here? The petiole develops in the leaflets. So that's something which was similar to the previous case. So what's the difference? The difference is that it's like from the fingers of the palm. So it is branching out like something like the fingers from our palm. That's the point. So petiole develops into leaflets at the tip, like the fingers of the palm. So note that point. It's because of this kind of development we call it palmate, and naturally palmate also has some subdivisions, interesting subdivisions, and quite similar to what we discussed in pinnate. Here also we are dealing with how many developing, how many leaflets are I mean the axis on which the leaflets are developing, and that's how the divisions are classified here also. So starting with unifoliate. Unifoliate basically means it's a single leaflet separated from the petiole by a constriction. Now, unifoliate is a very important case under palmate, because there's a chance that this, especially when you see the diagram, you may something like confuse it for other cases, and you may have a doubt that this is not a palmate case. This is something like a pinnate case, and that's not the case. So it's not an example of a pinnate compound type of leaf. Why? Because the leaflets are separated from the petiole by there's a constriction, there's a kind of division, there's a kind of something like a separation type of tissue, a constriction which is developing, and because of that constriction, this case, which if you look at a diagram, surely one feels that it's not palmate, it's pinnate, but it is a case of palmate, and that is happening because of this unique development of a constriction. So note that point, a very important point as far as the exam is concerned, as far as the NEET exam is concerned. So note the point about the development of the constriction. in the unifoliate subdivision, which comes under palmate. And a nice example is the citrus. Going on, next naturally is bifoliate. Quite simple to understand because you have a petiole, a single petiole, and from a single petiole arises two leaves. And bifoliate is also called binnate. So as I already told, once again reiterating, a single petiole from which, so note the point, it's not two leaves coming out of a petiole, it's two leaflets. So note that point, that's why it's coming under palmate. So note that point, it's leaflets, not leaves. And a interesting case is Belanite. So that's an example, and the diagram clearly indicates a characteristic bifoliate nature. Going on to the third case, obviously, first we had unifoliate, then bifoliate. Naturally, this would be trifoliate, also called ternate. Here, once again, nothing much to discuss. Basically, you have a single petiole and three leaflets. Not the point, once again, not leaves, but three leaflets developing from a single petiole. And quite a famous and notable example is wood apple. As eagle malmelos, that's wood apple, is a very famous example of this kind of leaf formation. So you can see that the leaflets are arising, developing from a common point where the petiole ends. And once again, don't forget to understand that it's not three individual leaves which are developing from the petiole. Of course, naturally, one should also remember that petiole basically means meant for one leaf. So these are leaflets. And as already mentioned, a very famous, notable example is wood apple. So that's about the trifoliate or ternate case. And we are going on to the next case. Unifoliate, bifoliate, trifoliate. Obviously, the next case will be dealing with four leaflets, that is quadrifoliate, and it's also called quadrinate, and quadri denoting four. So naturally, once again, one petiole, four leaflets. And the example would be quite easy to remember because the characteristic feature is coming in the botanical name. That is, example is Paris cordifolia. So that's example. Another example is Marsilia. So as it's been depicted in the diagram, we have four leaves coming from a common tip where the petiole is ending, and because it's a single petiole, we can't call it we can't call the leaflets as leaves. So it's four leaflets developing at the tip of a common petiole. So that's the fourth subdivision under palmate, quadrifoliate or quadrinate. Quite easy to understand, and nothing much to discuss in this particular case. So as I already mentioned quite earlier, to understand this kind of morphological developments, the best manner is to remember the examples along with their characteristic diagram. So this case, as I already told, the botanical name has the indication that is Paris cordifolia. And going on to the last case, last subdivision under palmate compound leaves is multifoliate. Multi, of course, it's denoting 5 or more than 5. So once again, we are dealing with that 5, that number we are referring to leaflets. So 5 or more than 5 leaflets at the tip of a common petiole. So that's a key point. So, and a very well-known example is bombas, which is commonly called the red silk cotton. Vernacularly it is called cymbal. And another notable example is Clio. So here we have the diagram coming up. You have the petiole, the tip of the petiole, we have the development of the leaflets. So note the point, it's a petiole, so petiole generally denotes a leaf. Naturally, that means the leaf-like developments are not actual leaves, they are leaflets. And you can see that here we have 7 leaves which are developing from the tip of the petiole. And the case for which the diagram is coming up is dealing with bombax, a very well-known specimen commonly called red silk cotton, whose vernacular name is cymbal. And another notable example is Clio. So note that point. So with that, we are coming to the end, dealing with the discussion related to the palmate compound leaves. So be clear about the diagram to get a nice, better understanding. So that's about compound leaves. The next video, we are going into a section of leaves which is extremely important in the sense that usually questions are, in the examination, questions are asked from that particular section, and we are looking at leaf modifications. That is a leaf which has become something else, which basically means that leaves, we know that it's one of the basic important functions of leaf is to have a broad area for photosynthesis, but here leaves have become tendrils, and which basically means that there are other structures which are now carrying out the function of leaves. So thanks for watching, and if you feel that the video was nice and good, please like, share and subscribe to our channel.